Welcome to the Lighthome Sustainable Design podcast series. We talk with the architects and builders about green design and homes that really suit the way we love to live.
I'm the director of Master Menders, one of two. We're in Victoria, we're a Victorian rectification builder. We mainly specialise in warranty work and defects, and also extensions, renovations, and a lot of waterproofing.
So in terms of rectification, well, what are some of the major issues? I'm assuming waterproofing is still right at the top of the list.
Waterproofing is very much so on top of the list, coming from balconies, bathrooms, and now we're starting to see the water penetration through cladding, lightweight cladding.
Oh really? And what causes that? What wasn't done that causes that? Because of course it's not the material itself, is it?
No, it's not the material, it's normally the process. People cut corners, they don't adhere to the manufacturer's recommendations, they mix products that aren't recommended, and that seems to be the biggest problem. And to rectify it, obviously, you've got to start from scratch. You can't just put a waterproof membrane on top of what's already there. 9 times out of 10, you have to start from scratch, get to the bare roots of it, and then back out.
And so is this something that, in using lightweight cladding, so am I to understand that you need waterproofing when you're using lightweight cladding? On
some applications you do. Normally a lightweight cladding, it could be a blue board, which is water resistant until you put your render on, and then the top membrane of colour. So that then it becomes a waterproof product.
And so is that something that builders cut corners on, or is this more of an owner-builder phenomenon?
We're seeing it both ends. The owner-builder seems to always possibly come up with it a little bit more, because a lot of the products now are pushed towards the DIY market, so basically do it yourself, and they're cutting corners. Unfortunately, they're not following the manufacturer's recommendations to the T, and then as soon as they miss one item, then it fails from there.
And a common area where perhaps they cut corners is in bathrooms, isn't it? Tell me what some
bathrooms.
Of the issues.
Waterproofing is again the main issue. Not using the correct membranes onto the villa board, which should be within a recessed area, and not doing the correct detailed work, which is the taping and the bond breaking, what they call bond breaking, even though some waterproofing membranes don't require that. But because your structure will always move, and what happens is your membrane tears. And look, we get it wrong as well, but the majority of them is that's where it is. It's the finer detail method, and because the owner builder, and not just the owner builder, but a lot of the builders that they trust and pay for their contractors to do, unfortunately don't get it right every time.
And sometimes you mentioned earlier that people use particle board and as the structure underneath.
Correct.
For example, a tile underlay.
Yep.
Just explain what you think is like the issue with that, but also what a better system for doing the structural floors involved.
Well, with the structural floors, what we see is when a builder is constructing, they'll normally just run the chipboard, which is a yellow tongue or red tongue, depending on the spacing of your joist, right through into the wet areas, which is fine. But then they would just either put a membrane straight over that and then tiles into the wet area. All it needs, that chipboard, is a slight little water, a little hole in the membrane, and then basically it's a defect. Once it becomes a defect, then you've got to start from scratch, because you cannot fix that halfway. So if they spend a little bit more time up front, and it's not going to cost them any more to put, i.e. a James Hardie Sky-On down, a compressed cement sheet into the wet areas and run it past the shower recesses up to the front, up to the door jamb, membrane that, and if water ever did get in, it's not going to start to cause rot, it's not going to start to cause major problems, and it's easier to fix. So if they do that up front, they're going to save a hell of a lot at the end.
Because what happens with particle board when the water gets it expands, doesn't it?
It expands, paper, really? Correct. It is a water resistant product up until, I believe, 90 days. But I think once more than 90 days, if there's moisture there, it'll just expand.
Yeah.
So for construction purposes, during construction it's fine, but as long as it's not out in the weather or water on it for more than 90 days, it should be fine. That's the problem. It's all little bits and pieces of timber glued together. As soon as water gets it, bang.
Okay, and you also mentioned that now with, if you like, green building becoming more popular, you've noticed some particular issues that are occurring with that kind of sustainable style of building.
Correct.
Take us through some of those issues.
What we're starting to just see a little bit of now with the sustainable building is that we've seen a couple of low E glass, which has probably been imported in and not manufactured correctly, starting to delaminate and cause some problems. Also, we've noticed with the ply, there was ply bracing and so forth that didn't comply to Australian standards that had been used and which was delaminating.
And that was actually on the Building Commission website.
Correct.
Is that the Victorian Building Commission?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, Victorian Building Commission, that's probably the most two common that we're seeing at the moment.
And a lot of people are using, timber cladding for the exterior, which looks lovely when it first goes up and it's stained, but that's no guarantee that it'll always going to look that way.
No,
is it?
it's no guarantee it's going to always look that way. The problem with that, it looks great. It'll be architecturally designed and specified, but owners need to be aware that timber will rot. Eventually, and if it's not maintained, so it's a balancing act from how you want something to look to where you want it to end up in 10, 15, 20 years' time.